The Japanese then promptly set about incorporating Dokdo into Japan. Watchtowers were erected on Dokdo, but at the time there were no residents in Dokdo, and the Japanese government conspired to take over the whole island. After dispatching the naval vessel Nataka in September 1904 to scout the island, Japan rapidly proceeded with its plot to incorporate Dokdo.
で、一番重要なことはやはり日露戦争を控えまして、日本海でならばロシアのウラジオストク艦隊、それからはるばる回ってきますバラチック艦隊、こういうものを監視するためにウルルンドだけじゃなくて、どうしてももう一つ先にある竹島が欲しかったんですね。
As it had already taken control of the Korean military, police, and diplomacy, incorporating a small island at the easternmost end of Korea was no difficult task for Japan. The problem was international condemnation. The announcement of Dokdo as Japanese territory was made furtively through a surreptitious notice, not from the central Japanese government, but by the Shimane prefecture. Early morning of May 28, 1905, the Japanese won a decisive victory against the Baltic fleet of Russia, which had been traveling around the globe for 7 months. However, this victory also marked the fall of Korea, representing the conquest of Japanese imperialism. Dokdo came to symbolize the triumph of Japanese imperialism. So it was that Dokdo became the first part of Korea to suffer invasion by Japan. With their victory in the Russo-Japanese War, Japan secured international recognition of its rule over Korea. Subsequently, Korea entered into a 35-year period of painful colonial rule by Japan.
It was part of the aggressive military activity that Japan was involved in attempting to and successfully taking over Korea. Now, the world has condemned that. The Japanese themselves have acknowledged that the annexation was improper. And so the claim to Dokdo is part and parcel of the claim to Korea itself. So if the annexation of Korea was improper, the annexation of Dokdo is similarly improper.
100 years later, change has been felt in Asia. Japan has evolved into a global economic power, and Asia's painful history is being forgotten. However, Japan is now basing a claim to sovereignty over Dokdo on a 100-year-old prefectural notice. The Japanese cabinet's decision, which is the basis of the Shimane prefectural notice of January 1905, declares that Dokdo is an uninhabited land, and Japan therefore claims the title to the island. However, Japan was well aware that this land had a rightful owner.
In 1905, Dokdo was not terra nullius because Koreans and the government of Korea had been active there. I suppose the most significant thing was the emperor's proclamation in 1900.
As the illegal immigration of Japanese people at Ulongdo became a frequent problem in 1900, Emperor Gojong of Korea issued an ordinance to strengthen administrative control over Ulongdo. This is Imperial Ordinance Number 41. Clearly states that Emperor Gojong was ordered that Ulongdo be renamed Uldo, and that Ulongun governor will have jurisdiction over Ulongdo, Jokdo, and Dokdo. It declared Ulongdo, including Dokdo, to be a new administrative unit. Prior to the imperial ordinance, Dokdo and Ulongdo were under the jurisdiction of Uljingun, Gangwon-do province in Korea. This fact was also being documented on the maps of Korea. Furthermore, this fact has also been acknowledged by the Japanese government. This document, drawn up in 1870 by the Foreign Ministry of Japan, is a report concerning the details of how Ulongdo and Dokdo became part of Korean territory. From this, it can be seen that Japan recognized Dokdo as Korean territory. The more conclusive is the subsequent Daejeonggwan Directive of 1877. The Daejeonggwan Directive is a document written by the Prime Minister's Office of Japan, clearly stating that, based on the incident in 1693, Japan had no sovereignty over Ulongdo and Dokdo. In 1693, a Korean fisherman named An Yong-bok went to Japan in order to file a complaint over the fact that Japanese fishermen illegally crossed into Ulongdo and Dokdo to catch fish, and requesting that Japanese authorities ban Japanese fishermen from coming to Ulongdo and Dokdo. The Japanese government of that time punished the fishermen that crossed these waters and banned Japanese fishermen from crossing into the waters of Ulongdo and Dokdo. At that point, Japan had already formally recognized Korea's sovereignty over Dokdo and Ulongdo. This is a famous map of Japan drawn by Japanese practical scientist Hayashi in 1785. Just as it shows the Shimane and Oki Islands on the parts of Japan, it clearly indicates that Ulongdo and Dokdo belong to Korea. On the other hand, on the maps drawn by the Japanese authorities encompassing all islands of Japan, there is no marking of Dokdo claiming it as a part of Japan's own territory. However, on the maps of Korea drawn up by Japan, Dokdo is marked as Korean territory.
1905年に日本は島根県の管轄のもとに徳島を竹島という名前で編入しました。しかしおかしいことにですね、島根県の地図にはその後いわゆる日帝時代ですね、1945年まで、さらにはその後1988年まで竹島の姿が出てきません。徳島が島根県の地図の中にずっと出てこないと。
On the Japanese Foreign Ministry homepage, it claims that Korea is illegally occupying Dokdo, and as evidence that Dokdo is Japanese territory, an ancient map of Japan is posted on the site. This is the very map that the Japanese are presenting as evidence. This map, drawn up in 1779, clearly shows Ulongdo and Dokdo, and even on this map, Ulongdo and Dokdo are marked as Korean territory. Unlike Japanese territory, which is marked in color, Ulongdo and Dokdo, like the other parts of Korea, are only sketched on those parts without lines of longitude or latitude. According to the map, if Dokdo is part of Japan, so should Ulongdo be. And if Ulongdo is part of Korea, Dokdo should be part of Korean territory as well. Why is it that the Japanese cannot see what is clear to all? We are now living in the 21st century, and a new future stretches out before Asia. For the last 5 decades, Korea and Japan have been striving to forget the scars of the past.
両国の間に不幸な過去が損したことは誠に遺憾であり。
However, we will not have a future in which Korea and Japan prosper together in peace and mutual understanding if Japan insists on its claim to Dokdo, because it was on Dokdo that Korean soil was first trampled by Japanese imperialist aggression, and is a reminder of Japanese imperialism. The first 50 years of the 20th century in East Asia were marked by Japanese militarism and numerous invasions throughout Asia. Countless innocent lives came to a tragic end at the Japanese hands, and Japan paid a price for this. And yet, can it be that Japan is now yearning for such a past as this? Whilst making repeated apologies, Japan continues to glorify the history of its constant invasions into other countries. The facts of the past cannot be beautified nor justified.
아무리 경제력이 강하고 군비를 강화해도 이웃의 신뢰를 얻고 국제사회의 지도적 국가가 되기는 어려울 것입니다.
On a clear day, Dokdo is visible from Ulongdo just as Oki Island is visible from the Shimane Prefecture. Just as Oki Island of Shimane is Japanese territory, Dokdo is Korean territory. To Koreans, Dokdo represents the past, present, and future of Korea. Should serve as a mirror which enables Japan to look back on its history of foreign invasions with a sense of shame. So it is that Dokdo is a symbol of peace in a new Asia. It stands as a symbol of the peace that Korea and Japan must build together as they meet a new century. It is a symbol of peace.